So, welcome to another Edinburgh Retro PC podcast. This is number 6. We've got the usual gang. We've got George.
Hello.
Ian.
Hello. Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter, yep. You too, mate. And we've got Mr. David in Glasgow.
Hello.
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing alright.
Alright, all nice.
Chocolate egg day.
Yeah, lots of chocolate eggs to eat then.
Oh yes, plenty.
Brilliant stuff. Been cracking weather actually, it's been really nice.
It's been lovely for a change.
It's been nice,
Yeah.
Yep, really nice today.
Good stuff. So, we had, obviously, to anybody listening, we had our club night not last night, when was it? Last Wednesday. Had a decent enough turnout again. Quite a few interesting bits of hardware, especially your what's it called again? Your board thing, Ian, that you brought along?
The super gun.
Why do they call it super gun?
I'm not entirely sure. Dave, do you know why they call it a super gun?
Pass the buck, why don't you?
I wish I did.
No,
well,
no one does.
To any of our viewers out there, do they know why they call it a super gun? Can you connect a gun to it? I think you must.
I don't know. I think it's just commonly known as a kind of JAMA kind of test harness. Where the super gun name comes from, I've really not. I've never actually looked, so I don't know.
There's your homework. There's your homework for 2 weeks.
All right.
We should explain to listeners what this device is.
Yeah, I'll let Ian do that then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the super gun, as I explained last time, is it's a small PCB which plugs into a JAMA interface arcade board. So it's the same boards that come out of arcade machines, and it allows you to use these arcade boards on a normal television. And you can plug in all kinds of controllers, things like PS2 controllers and SNES controllers as well.
Yeah.
So I think Ian, you had it wired up through SCART to a television.
Yeah.
You had two controllers attached. You had a PlayStation 2 controller.
Yeah.
And was it a SNES controller you
There
had
was a
wired up?
SNES controller as well. Yeah.
Because in the instructions with the super gun, you get the wire and how to wire each one of these controls up, don't you?
Yeah, if you can get the extension cables for all of these control pads, you can chop the end off and you can connect a DB15, a standard kind of connector onto it. So it supports things like Sega Master System controllers, Mega Drive, PC Engine, NES, SNES, Saturn, and without any adapter at all, it supports the Neo Geo joysticks.
Cool. And you had it wired up to a PC power supply?
Yeah, just a standard ATX power supply, yeah. Does the job quite nicely. Not compatible with every single board you can get, but the majority of boards will work fine.
Sorry, George.
There's pictures of this super gun on our Facebook page if you want to have a closer look at Ian's super gun. It's pretty cool.
So see, you're saying it uses JAMA boards. Is JAMA the sort of industry standard for most kind of like arcade games or what?
Yeah, I think it might have been around the kind of late 80s, early 90s when the JAMA standard was introduced, and it was to reduce the problems where back in the old days where you had things like Pac-Man, Galaxian and those kind of games, they were all wired up differently. So you couldn't just swap the boards in and out of your machines.
The whole cab had to go.
The whole cab had to be replaced, or I think you could maybe construct kind of adapter boards to make them work. So I think it's the Japanese arcade machine manufacturers association got together and decided on a kind of standard pinout for these boards, so that every board has the same connectors. And then you could just plug any board you liked into whatever cabinet you had, as long as it all complied with the JAMA standard. Yeah.
So each board's got its built-in sound and graphics and all that kind of stuff. So you could basically just buy a Commando JAMA, plug it in, play Commando, take it out, plug in Bubble, whatever. Yeah. So is that the most kind of cost-effective way of playing a real arcade game in your house? Then you think?
Having a super gun certainly is. I mean, it means you don't have to have a huge hulking great arcade machine that you maybe haven't got space for.
Even if you've got an original arcade cabinet, if something goes dead on it, like whatever's displaying the adapter displaying to the screen, you could use this on board with your original arcade machine. You can adapt it to, you can retrofit things into it. Like Supergum's, I think it's a fantastic piece of kit. You also had an arcade machine there as well, didn't you, Ian?
Well, there was two boards. There was the World Rally board that I purchased off eBay, and there was also a Neo Geo. I mean, the whole reason I bought this thing in the first place was for the Neo Geo games. So I've got the Neo Geo arcade board and the Puzzle Bobble cartridge, and I also brought along the World Rally PCB that I picked up as well.
Good stuff, eh? So you plan to buy more? What's your next game that you're looking for?
Spent far too much money on this already. I've picked up a Commodore, the CM8033 monitors, the one that George had on last Wednesday. I managed to get the only one that was on eBay last week. I managed to pick that up.
Well, you picked it. You collected it?
No, it's in the post.
Oh, right. Good luck with that one.
Scarily enough, it's in the post.
I'm hoping it's not damaged.
Hopefully the guy's not just stuck a stamp on it,
I once bought a 16-bit machine on eBay, and when I got it was 64-bit.
Anyway, guys,
listen.
It's actually it is fully boxed, so hopefully it's going to arrive here in one piece.
Good luck. Look forward to seeing that. Listen, the first topic I've had on this list for the last 5 weeks, and I never actually come to it, is our games room, or is the common phrase that you seem to see battered about is your man cave. Dave, we'll start with you. Have you got a man cave?
Sounds terribly rude, doesn't it? But yes, indeed I do.
Talk us through it.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky enough to have a room dedicated to my hobby. So I've got my Apple Mac computer, which is the only modern thing in here, which I'm sitting in front of doing this. I've got a few, 1, 2, 3, 4 bookcases full of different games. I've got a kind of 8-bit section, which has got all my Amstrad, Spectrum and Commodore 64 stuff. I've got a bookshelf full of Sega stuff, Master System, Mega Drive and Saturn. There's also some PlayStation stuff, and then I've got another one with kind of more modern stuff. I say modern, it's PlayStation 2, Xbox, and Wii stuff, and Dreamcast. So I've got those bookshelves full of games, just the bookshelves out of Argos. Got another bookshelf, actually, a mini one with all my CD32 stuff. And I've got a couple of display units with a TV on it, and I've got all my consoles in there. So I've got 13 consoles and 4 computers, I think. So yeah, and I've got my arcade machine as well, actually, my main cabinet that I built, that's sitting there as well. So
you can't have too many machines, can you?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, they're all kind of sitting on shelves, on their own wee sort of display shelves, and I just plug them up to the telly when we're going to play whatever we're going to play.
So have you got to obviously you connect, you see, you got to connect up to the TV. I take it it's not pre-configured or pre-connected then, yeah.
I did have a system where I had them all wired and everything was plugged in. You just basically had to put in your cartridge or disc and off you went. But you look down the back of the telly and it was just hideous. At one point, I had 6 extension cables plugged into each other, and the lights dimmed when you switched it on. It was ridiculous. So now I've just got a nice wee 4-way multi-gang adapter and a SCART extension thing at the back. I've managed to get SCART cables for all my retro computers apart from the Atari 2600. For folk that listened to the last podcast, I've got my Atari 7800, which I did the AV mod on, that lets me use SCART, and obviously you can play 2600 games on that. So
yeah.
That's me got SCART for everything, which gives nice clear pictures and saves a lot of hassle in tuning things.
Mm-hmm. So just something you mentioned there has got me thinking. Obviously, we all like to play real hardware. For the purpose of the 2600, would you... Well, obviously, you've almost answered the question I'm about to ask. Would you go to the bother of digging out the 2600 so you can play a Pac-Man or Space Invaders, or are you quite happy just to use another bit of hardware that will emulate it, or doesn't emulate it, obviously, you would rather, for convenience sake, you're quite happy to play 2600 games on a 7800 then?
I'm really sad that the 2600, the signal out of that's actually pretty good, so it tunes in quite nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a retro buzz off the telly because there's interference of some description. Wi-Fi wasn't around when that was built, so I'm sure the RF shielding doesn't cope with Wi-Fi signals and microwaves. But no, I'm a bit of a purist.
You like the real thing. Do you not think the biggest thing with like the real hardware is the controller? The controller. If you're playing an Atari 2600 game, you want to have the rubber joystick with the wee orange button.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The 7800 supports all the 2600 controllers and stuff, but I just like that. Obviously, the switches and all that on the 7800 are different. So I like my, I'm like I say, I'm a purist geek, and I'll go to the extra playing, 2600 games on the system.
The real hardware. Aye.
Yeah. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
So what have you got? Any kind of posters or that kind of thing decorating the walls, or have you got?
I've got a few things. I've got a couple of 3D posters. I've got a Star Wars and a Dark Knight Returns 3D poster thing up. I've got a huge Hulk cover that my father-in-law bought me for Christmas. I don't know what size it is. A0. It's huge, but it's cracking. It's a real retro kind of cover. And flanking that, I've got a couple of framed prints of Bob Wakeland's artwork.
They're really nice.
I love Bob Wakeland's stuff.
Yeah.
I've met him a couple of times. He's a top bloke, and I've managed to twist his arm into signing them all. So I've actually got about 6 prints that I kind of rotate. Just what takes the mood.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It was Oliver Frey that did all that work for Zaps and Crashes. What would Bob Wakeland do? What can you name one of his sort of famous game designs?
If you've ever If you've ever seen anything by Imagine or Ocean, you've seen Bob Wakeland's artwork.
Right, okay.
Everything from Renegade, Green Beret up to Operation and all that kind of stuff. So he's got a very distinctive style. I just love his. Considering all these were done back in the day with airbrushes and stuff, and he still I'm going to say he still paints. He uses Photoshop and stuff to create his stuff now. It's all digital, but I don't know how he's still managed to keep his signature kind of style. He's still got the same technique even though it's digital, which is quite kind of mind-boggling. But you can tell if you're a kind of fan, you can tell a Bob Wakeland print a mile.
I think he did. I was Renegade. I can see that one. The guy with getting kicked in the balls, basically, and there's the girl about to hit the guy with a hammer or something.
Exactly. Operation Wolf is my favourite one. I love that work for that. I've got that framed, and that's when I first met him, and I'm actually friends with the guy on Facebook who was the model that he used for. He's an Irish guy, and he's huge. He's a big bodybuilder guy, but it's his blonde face that's on the front of the Operation cover. So yeah, and that's it. I've got a Lego montage print thing up as well. So and various bits of Star Wars memorabilia and toys and nonsense. So it's good stuff.
Excellent. Well, yourself, George, have you got a man cave or a retro room?
I do, yeah. I'm lucky to have one the same as Dave. So I've got a room in the house where I've managed to get some of my computer stuff set up. I like to have all my stuff set up ready to go. So I'm like what Dave used to have. I've got all the computers and all the stuff wired up ready to just turn on so I can use them. But I can't get everything out. So at the moment I've got a 64, a BBC Micro, Spectrum Pulse 3, a RIS PC 600, a QL, a Commodore PC, a Toshiba MSX, and an Amiga 1200, and a Vectrex, and an Atari 800, all wired up, Dave. All with TVs. Some of the TVs I've got in the room, I've got multiple connections to them, and they're ready to turn on. The things that I can't get connected, I've got a Rubber Key Spectrum, a VIC-20, various other bits and pieces that I want to get wired up, I just haven't got room for them. I haven't got any posters up on the wall, and I don't really have a massive game collection. I've got more equipment, hardware than games. Any kind of games that I do have, they're all on these SD card adapter things at the moment. I've got all my I try and keep things separate. All my kind of retro computers are upstairs, and all my kind of games consoles are down in the living room. So downstairs I've got the Sega. What have I got downstairs? I've got the GameCube. I've got the old Xbox One. I've got the Nintendo GameCube, and a Dreamcast, and what else? There's someone else that's doing there. A NES, Nintendo NES, all wired up to a television downstairs. But I don't think, I'll be honest, I don't get much chance to play with stuff downstairs, because we've got the baby at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So
you've got about how many systems ready to go? About 20 or something?
About between 15 and 20 ready to go. And I've also got I've got an Xbox and a PlayStation 3 upstairs, and I've got the Xbox wired up to a projector, so I can play the games through the big screen. Right, play the games. Right. But I'm thinking about moving the projector downstairs into the conservatory and watch it for movies. So I've got one of these big silver screens, and I'm going to ask my dad to make me a projector stand that I can sit behind the couch and project movies onto the silver screen. So that's the next kind of project. So we can have a bit like what Dave does. I want to have a movie night in the conservatory, and we can watch movies in there. I think that would be pretty cool. So that's my next kind of next kind of wee mini project.
So you've got all these systems, but I bet you play bloody Farmville on Facebook, don't you? I always laugh at folk doing that. They've got hundreds of games and they still play stupid online games like that.
Well, basically what I've been playing the last couple of days is I've been playing stuff on the Atari 800, and one of the guys at the rental club on Wednesday gave me it's a Competition Pro Dual Quickshot Pro.
Oh, I saw that.
This is a dual infrared joypad controllers made by Quickshot. You get two controllers that are infrared, a bit like Sega controllers, with the joypad, and they're infrared, Alan, and they connect to an infrared base station. On the Quickshot infrared base station can connect to MSX, Atari, Spectrum, anything like that. So you can connect to just about any kind of old retro adapter. Right. So I've been sitting on the couch with the infrared controller playing the Atari 800, so it's working pretty cool.
Magic.
It was a freebie. But nice. my man cave isn't complete. I'd like to get other machines up here. I've not got enough shelving space.
Is that a bedroom you've got in, George?
It's a bedroom, upstairs. Aye. Yeah. But no, I don't have. There's stuff piled up here. I'd like to get all my Specky games on a shelf. Maybe not alphabetically, but I'd like to get them all the Spectrum games all laid out.
I'm the same as you. I mean, I don't have I'll tell you about my games room in a wee minute, but I would love to have the space to have. You remember when you went into John Menzies, you had all the cassette inlays facing you, like you're like going in a video shop. I would love to have all these games, just because let's be honest with you, if you're going to load a game, you're going to use the SD adapter. So tapes to me they're virtually null and void. But I'd still love just to be able to pick a cassette off the shelf and look at it and think, I think I'll play that, and then just load up using the SD thing, But you need a lot of space for that, obviously.
That's kind of what I do, to be honest. I play a lot of my stuff burned onto 3.5-inch floppies or whatever on my Amstrad and stuff, but I've got not all of them obviously, but I've got a lot of games and it's good for the instructions, because I defy anybody to play something like, winter games without the
Yep.
So.
Aye, no, I know exactly what you mean. Yep. Ian, what about yourself? I've been up to your house before. You've got a large conservatory type thing you've got.
I'm not actually in there anymore. I was kicked out by my wife a few months ago. That's not a kind of crafting area, unfortunately. So I've been put up to the spare room, which is the smallest room in the house. So there's stuff piled everywhere as far as you can see. I've got a cupboard where I've got a shelf of like DVDs and disc-based software. I've got another shelf which is all kind of like cartridge stuff, Mega Drive and SNES, and not a lot. There's not a huge collection. Like pretty much like George, it's all kind of like on SD cards nowadays, isn't it? So, and in the bottom shelf is all the systems, and there's no way I can probably have maybe one or two set up at a time in here. So I've got two desks that are kind of on each opposite wall, and a chair in the middle. One side's all PC stuff, and modern generation stuff. So we've got PS3 and 360. The other side is a kind of blank, empty table with a couple of CRT TVs. And at the moment, it's usually always got a Mega Drive hooked up. And also, I've also got the Super Gun stuff set up just now. But in the cupboard, there's another kind of 19 or 20 things just all stacked up, piled high. So if I want to play anything, I can't just do it at a moment's notice. It needs to be. I've got drawers full of power cables and video cables, none of which are labelled. Yeah. So you've got to dig out the right one, of course. You
know what's a big blessing is a hand labeler. A printer.
Yeah.
Because I've started labelling. Like I've got
the plugs.
three of these Surge multi-plug sockets, and I've had to label every single plug because it's been a nightmare trying to find out, right, what plug turns the BBC micro on. You lose track.
Ian, see a handy tip, depending on what you want to do. I went and got a huge box of Ziploc bags at Poundland, and each Ziploc bag has got a sticky label on it, but basically it's got, like, my Mega Drive has got the, in the bag it says Mega Drive, and all the cables and everything for it are all in one bag, so you can, I can just go through a drawer and see what one I need, and everything, all the AV cables and power supplies and everything are in one bag. It's quite handy to be able to do.
That's not a bad idea. I've just got a drawer full of power supplies. And they're not bad. You can kind of guess which one switch for them. It's the video cables can be a problem sometimes. If you try to find, say, the Sega Saturn video cable, and it's like a round kind of like a mini DIN thing, and there's quite a few systems that have that kind of connector. So you've got to try and figure out which one is the correct one. It could be quite difficult. But yeah, so hopefully we'll be moving house at some point next year. Or maybe even this year. We'll see what happens. And I'll get a dedicated kind of games room that's got a lot more space, hopefully.
And obviously, what's when you go to view a new house, what's the most important question you ask the owners? What is it? How fast is your broadband?
How fast your broadband?
How many plug sockets is there in the room?
How wide are the doors, and can I get a pinball machine through them?
Get your priorities right, Yeah, so I mean, lastly, George, you've seen my little games room. I'm sitting here just now, and it's probably 6 feet by about 7 feet, something like that. It's not.
You must have the smallest retro room that I know, Alan.
But per square inch, I've probably got more systems than anybody. I mean, I'm sat here. I've got to my right, I've got my main cab. I've got a little unit beside that. Now, bear in mind, my wife's put a 2 by. My wife put a 2 foot by 3 foot bloody thing for putting clothes in, which I wasn't happy about. But anyway, that's because, as I've been told, it's not my room. So that's in there. That took up a big chunky space. But even though that's there, I've got my main cab, I've got my Amiga, I've got a Vectrex, I've got a GameCube down there, I've got my SNES, I've got my Mega Drive. In front of me, I've got my PS1, my Saturn, my Wii, my Dreamcast, my PS2, PS3, 360, PS4, and Virtual Boy, and all these are all ready to go. And I've got 2 big tellies as well, so I've certainly got, and plus I've got a surrounding sound system as well. So it's it's taken a long time making it build up to this, like. But
you've got quite a lot of the power cables already. Even though the console's not sitting there, the power cables ready
in my
just to
cupboard
plug
there.
in.
I've got an Atari 800, I've got a BBC, I've got an Atari whatever it is, 65XE or something. I can't remember what it's called again. I've got a Spectrum, I've got a rubber Spectrum. I've got I've got all the cables and SCARTs all plugged in. So basically, all I need to do is plug them into the 2 cables into the unit, and I'm ready to go, sort of thing. So, because I found if I don't have them ready to go, then I don't use them. Simple as that. It was like that MSX that we kind of swapped, George. I mean, when it's sitting in the loft, it's like, what's the point? It's not doing any good sitting in the loft, sort of thing. I like to have something ready to go, kind of thing, or else I don't see any point in kind of having it, like,
Yep.
But and artwork wise, my little daughter's very good at drawing stuff. She's done some cracking little retro posters. She's done one of Pac-Man. She's done one of Bubble Bobble, Jet Set Willy, wee Robotron, whatever his name is, wee Robotron 2084, one of the baddies out of Bubble Bobble, Bruce Lee. So yeah, I've got a lot of kind of hand drawn artwork. Steve Benway made an interesting point in one of his videos. people say to him, well, why have you got so much stuff? And he says, and I'm exactly the same. I just like sitting in here, I'm looking up and I can see a Vectrex game, I can see Outlaws on the Atari VCS. I love the whole being involved in the atmosphere of having all these game boxes and that around me. Like, I love that,
Yeah.
It just gives you inspiration. It's, the kind of thing you want to actually play. But
there's a guy called Gamester81 on YouTube, and he has a whole house dedicated to retro stuff. And if you ever watched, he's done a video recently where he talks about his top 10 rarest systems it has. And some of the stuff I don't know how on earth he gets some of these systems, but some of the systems I've never even heard of. But I recommend if you watch, he released it about 2 weeks ago, one of his videos on top 10 rare consoles. It's quite interesting. Some of the stuff I've never even heard of before.
I was reading one of maybe it's 2-3 months old Retro Gamer magazine, and they were talking to the guy. There's a museum down in Cambridge. It's basically a guy's retro collection, and he opened up the museum. It's something like the British Museum of Gaming or some video game and something like that. And he's got something outrageously like 800 computers / consoles. He's got one of them that he's got was the very, very last Acorn machine that came out. There was only 2 ever made, and he's got the only one that actually works. And apparently the guy had it in his garage, and he donated it to this museum sort of thing. But that must be worth thousands, eh?
I think there's a guy who goes to the replay events, and he's got, it might be the same guy, Alan. He's got a massive collection of retro computers, and he loans them. I think I might be wrong, but I think he loans them to the replay events for the retro side of things. And I've seen them walking about at the replay in Manchester when we were there, Alan.
Yeah.
And I seen the guy who owns the stuff, and I think I'd be dead nervous having other folk, total strangers mucking about with my, retro equipment. You'd be worried that somebody would wreck it, because some of the folk that you see using the stuff, they're no gentle with the stuff.
Yeah.
They're fucking smashing cartridges in, they're pulling cables out, and dodgy.
No. Nah, no, and it's the same as, like, obviously we have our retro clubs every month, and it's at the end of the day, it comes down to trust, and the people you trust somebody that's going to come to the club and they're going to look after it, because at the end of the day it belongs to everybody, we've all got our own equipment sort of thing, and if somebody's hashy with it, then it's going to cost you money sort of thing.
Yeah, you've got to respect folks' stuff, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the type of people that come along to our club thing, they are very careful.
Yeah.
Which is
good.
I don't think we've had any retro equipment die during a retro night, apart from my 64 sound chip died. That's about it.
Nothing that died due to any kind of malicious.
No, I don't think so.
You've not had any trip ups over cables, power supplies, or anything like that yet.
Did someone not spill tea a few months back and almost took someone out? No, I'm sure someone spilled a whole cup of tea somewhere.
God, I missed that one.
I think the floor got most of it though. I think it was okay.
Right, good.
Brilliant. Well, listen, guys, the next topic, just moving on swiftly. I don't think we've discussed this one. Old computer shows. Did anybody ever go to any? Now, I mean, obviously we've got your replays and all your other ones, your nerds and that kind of stuff. But did anybody go to any of the shows back in the day, back in the sort of 80s, 90s, anything like that?
Things like trade shows and stuff like that.
Aye, exactly. Trade shows. Well, we'll start with you, Ian, since you're.
I can remember one thing about it was my dad used to drag me to these things when I was younger, and there was one. I think it was actually held in a train station in Glasgow. I think it was maybe Central Station.
Cool.
And it was the strangest thing. I think it was all built around the kind of Atari ST enthusiasts. I couldn't tell what it was called. I couldn't tell you why it was in Central Station in Glasgow. It might not even be in Central Station in Glasgow. I might have been making that up. But it was certainly in Glasgow somewhere. And there was guys all selling things like MIDI adapters and kind of MIDI software and that kind of thing. And there was guys selling games and just discs and utilities and that kind of stuff. And yeah, so that's the only thing that I can remember.
I think back in the day, I mean, there was always a lot of like enthusiasts kind of clubs. You had the Atari ST clubs and that sort of stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, I went to a couple. It was called the PCW show down in London, Earl's Court.
Oh yeah,
I think it was before it got pulled down. And Ian, who goes along to the club as well, him and I used to jump in a bus. Something like midnight. I can't remember where we used to get it from, and it takes about 12 hours to get down to London.
That's dedication.
You get dropped off. It was at Victoria bus station, and then you have to stand outside for about 5 hours and waiting the thing opening. But it was good. I mean, it was one of these things. It was right back in the heyday of, there was like the Zap 64 guys here, the Amtix guys, the Crash guys, and you saw these wee kind of celebs walking about kind of thing. But I used to always think you were going to get decent prices for things, but they were never that cheap. But yeah, it was quite interesting to go along to these things. So yeah, what about yourself, George? Did you ever get to any computer shows?
I was too busy monkeying about motorbikes when I was really young. I had obviously a lot of retro stuff when I was younger, but I didn't really get an opportunity at all really until I was a bit older to go to some of these events. And to be honest, I wish I had actually went to some when I was younger, because some of the equipment that would been on display you've never been able to get access to or see. So no, it's something I've missed out on and I'd love to have done when I was younger. I definitely, if I knew mates who were into it, I'd definitely I went along to it. No, but now I'm dying to go to the one in Blackpool. I'm trying to persuade Vicky to take take the kid down. All three of us will go down in the car, and maybe go down the Saturday and come back the Sunday. But I've not arranged any digs of that yet in Blackpool, and it can be a nightmare trying to get digs in Blackpool this time of year. But I'm going to maybe try and get to it, because I mean I've been to the one at Norbeck Castle in 2011, and I don't know if I bumped into you, Dave, there.
Yeah, aye. Yes, you did, aye.
I think I maybe did 2011, but a lot of people, I'm the same, I believe it's the home of the replay event is at Blackpool. And this year, as Dave was saying, it's just all kind of mainly going to be focused on the retro equipment as opposed to the kind of arcade, like the Xbox, the new Xbox C6 and that kind of stuff. I don't think they'll have the Xbox One or that there, hopefully not.
Yeah. So you're trying to go down to Blackpool. You're definitely going then, Dave, down to Blackpool, aren't you? You're going down for the full weekend, eh?
I am, yes. I'm going down to do the whole thing, and I'll be doing a review stroke write-up thing of it on the GamesYouLove.com website, so keep your eyes peeled for that.
So what's your main? I know it probably sounds talking obvious. What's the main attraction of these events for you then, Dave?
It's getting a chance to meet people, believe it or not. I mean,
so it's people rather than games. You would say.
I mean, it's nice to be able to go down and play actual arcade cabinets and all that kind of stuff. But if you're lucky enough to have your own MAME cabinet and the kit that most of us have got, you've pretty much got everything that's to play down there. So I've made a lot of friends on Facebook, through all sorts of retro nonsense, and I've made pals with a lot of the Ocean programmers and all that kind of stuff. So it's going down to see them and have a chat and just talk retro nonsense and bug them for a while. I'm sure they get sick of me and want to tell me to bugger off, but supply them with alcohol, it'll be great, I'm sure. But I just go into geek overload when I'm doing there, I'm afraid. But
I know. What do you think, Dave? What do you think of how they sell a lot of retro equipment down there at the events?
Yes.
What do you think of the prices of the stuff? What's your opinion?
Some of it is. It really depends. I mean, some of it's no bad. You can grab a bargain if you're in early. Like when I was when Replay was in Manchester, I bought what was it called, Steel Battalion for the Xbox, which is the huge controller thing. It's basically a sort of mech type game. Where you control this mech, but the controller when you play it is about 4.5 feet wide, and it's got 2 joysticks and about 30 switches on it and all that kind of stuff. And it's hard as nails to play. It's ridiculous. But there was one of those boxed, and it was $100. But when I said to the guy, is it the green button or the blue button version? And, because I'm sad enough to know. The green button version was the original kind of early version of it, and then they re-released the controller with a blue button. So the green button one is worth more. And on eBay, the blue button versions usually go for between $100 and $120. So it was kind of, although it was still £100, it was a kind of bargain to be had. So
investment there, yeah.
Aye, so that was kind of snapped
Didn't know
up.
bigotry had entered the video games, eh?
But I mean, it's I know that I'm pals with a few of the kind of guys that are going to be selling in there, and I know that they have to hike their prices up a wee bit to obviously make it, because they have to pay to be there.
Yep.
And unbelievably, there are people stealing stuff off of their stalls.
Really?
That doesn't surprise me.
There's guys that walked away with cartridges and all that kind of stuff, and someone stole, I think it was a Jaguar, an actual system, they stole off their stall. It's like, for God's sake, So I feel bad for the sellers, and it's simply not cricket. But
yeah.
I mean, it's like anything. When you go to these shows, you do pay more than you kind of normally would, but it's just, you don't often get the chance to walk into a retro stall and browse retro games and buy. You've got to look at it that if something is £6 at the stall, you'd maybe get it for £3 on eBay, but then you've got a couple of quid for packing and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
You just
I
have
think
to
as well, probably a lot of the equipment, I mean, when you're going on eBay to look for a particular machine, you're probably bidding against a guy who's going to buy to then try and sell it on, sort of thing. So he's going to have to put his markup on it, and so as you say, you're paying that bit more. But chances are you're buying something knowing that it's probably been tested and that kind of thing as well, eh?
Aye, that's it, absolutely.
Yeah. I think there's not. Sorry.
I was just going to say, to throw it back to your original question about all these trade shows and that kind of stuff. I went to the Amiga show down in London in Earls Court in 1993. It's the only kind of event like that I ever went to back in the day. And my mate and I went down, and I was poor at the time, so I bought a couple of stupid CDs, I think. But he had saved up and he bought a zip drive for the Amiga. A SCSI zip drive, and this thing was like 230 quid or something stupid like that. But he also bought Capital Punishment. I don't know if you ever played that. Capital Punishment had just come out, and they were selling that for half price, I think it was. So you got this, and Capital Punishment, if you've not seen it, it's an AGA game for the Amiga, and it's a one-on-one fighting game. And it's Amiga graphics, it's no digitized graphics or anything, but it's as violent, if not more so, than Mortal Kombat.
Never heard that, actually.
Oh, it's tremendous. You can punch
Capital
people.
Punishment.
Capital Punishment.
When did it come out?
It came out in 1993.
It's
7 discs. It's hard disk installable. You can get it on all sorts of nefarious websites if you Google it. But it's brilliant. You can uppercut people into a wall of spikes. Amongst other things, you can electrocute people. There's all sorts of daft stuff you can do. It's quite hard, and it was all sorts of technical achievements for the Amiga at the time, because the screen is about 3 screens wide, so you can move back and forward and the screen will scroll.
Aye.
There's different environmental objects that you can smack folk into if you're in different areas of the screen and stuff. So Capital Punishment.
I'm going to have a look for that
I think what I'll do, Dave, is I'll bring my Amiga 1200 along to the next retro event, and we'll get that game fired up, and we'll play it 2-player, I think.
Aye, it's terribly good. One of the fighters is a woman who caused controversy at the time because she's like a dominatrix, but she's topless in the game. It's just bonkers. Check it out. It was by a company called Click Boom, who converted Quake to the Amiga.
Cool.
But yeah, Capital Punishment, terribly good game.
Super, brilliant. Actually, just a wee anecdote on the old computer shows. Ian, who that goes along to our club, when Ian and I went down to, it was the personal computer show at Earls Court, I think it would be 1988, something like that. Standing outside, all the shadows waiting to get in on the geeks, and there was a guy a bit older than us, was a few rows in front, and he started talking to him, and he'd travelled down in the bus, blah, blah, blah. And that was it. Doors open, never saw the guy again. And then coming back up in the bus, who got on but this old guy with glasses, and, how you doing? And he was clutching an Amiga, and I said, you just buy that today? Yeah. Got talking, blah, blah, blah. Before we knew it, we'd swapped phone numbers, and I went through with my big box of discs to give him some games, and that started a friendship. In fact, John actually came along to one of our club nights. I don't know if you remember him, George.
I do, yeah.
I remember him. He had the Amiga 1200 Tower.
He's got Amiga 1200 Tower.
Yeah, but anyway, so anyway, yeah, we got a bit of friendship thing going. We used to swap, go through each other's houses. He lived in Kirkcaldy, and then about 3 or 4 years later, I got married, and I invited John along to my wedding, and Ian and his mum, they came along to the wedding as well, and John slept on Ian's floor. For my wedding, and Ian's mum and John got together, and they're now married. all because I spoke to him outside the pieces. He's still not forgiven me. So there you go. Computers bring people together.
I think the first time I met Ian was outside CX on Rose Street handing out flyers.
Is that me?
Aye.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you had a 1% success rate then.
Other people said, "Oh, I handed loads of flyers." I'm like, I'll come along. Yeah, sure.
Well, we were just in Edinburgh that day, and I was in CEX, and I come in. I think I had an Atari shoulder bag on.
Aye.
And I think you must have clocked that, and so there we go.
I did,
and I got this flyer, and I just thought, cheers, thanks very much. And it wasn't until I got home I actually looked at it, and I thought, this could be interesting.
There you go. Now you're one of the most regulars, eh?
I know.
Good, brilliant stuff. Right, next one, chaps. Best eBay retro bargain. Is there a bargain you think absolutely fantastic? Grab. What do you think, Ian? Have you had anything? Is there anything? Well, in fact, we'll have a double. We'll have the best retro bargain and your most expensive retro purchase. Start with you. If your wife's in the room next door, you can just tell a lie and just round it down a couple £100.
I was 50 quid. That's what it was. I've had 2 99p bargains on eBay that I can think of. I got my first Mega Drive off eBay. I was looking to get just a cheap Mega Drive just to get me started. I'd never ever owned one before, and this one was going. I think it was an auction. There was like 5 minutes left, no bids. So I put like £5 bid on it just to see, and I got it for 99p. So that was pretty good. And that was then that Mega Drive was the kind of first one I modified, added the 60 hertz switches to it, and sold it for £35 on eBay. So I was chuffed for that. And then the other bargain that I had probably about a year ago now was I got a Nintendo Wii off eBay that was faulty.
You tell me that, yeah.
It was sold as faulty. No idea what was wrong with it, and when it came in the post, I think I mentioned before, it was wrapped in a bin liner, and nothing else. So I think it was maybe in a kind of jiffy bag, but the front of the console was poking out the front of the jiffy bag as well, so there was no protection on the front apart from just a kind of thin bin liner. And then I took out the package and I kind of had a look at it, and I heard there was like things rattling about inside of it. Yeah. So like I said, I paid 99p for this Wii, and then when I opened it up and had a look at it, it turns out that the woman who had sold it, her kids had been chucking coins in the slot, and that's why it wasn't working. So I think when it was all said and done, so it was 99p for the console. There was about 57p of loose change inside it. So if you do the math on that one, and again, and I think I actually just kept that Wii. So we've got 2 Wiis in the house now. So I just kept that one as a kind of dodgy. Kind of, what do they do to these things? They soft mod them, don't they? So you can run things like emulators and homebrew stuff on it. Yeah,
that's right. So that was your 2 bargains. What about your most
2 bargains?
Ridiculous purchase? You don't have to mention if you don't want to.
Probably the most expensive thing I've ever purchased on eBay was a pinball machine.
Really? Yeah.
That would have been a good 8 or 9 years ago now. I paid something like 800 odd quid for the Shadow pinball machine on eBay, and done in Yorkshire to pick it up. So that's. But of course, I was single at the time, though, so that was okay. There was no one to justify that to, so it was fine.
So what happened to it then?
Well, of course,
You met your wife.
Moved house, got married, and I had to go. So
yeah, I suppose the space.
Yeah.
The space.
I'm afraid. Yeah, I think I was saying to Dave at the club night on Wednesday. I used to have 3 pinball machines, and they all had to go. So sadly, all now sold, unfortunately.
Were they quite reliable, Ian? The pinball machines you had, did you ever have to do much work on them?
No, there was one of the dot matrix displays had a kind of faulty set of lines on it once, which was a new display. I had to buy for that. They're not cheap. I mean, I bought that maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and it was pricey then. I'd imagine they're even more pricey now. And there was one machine had a kind of PCB fault. It was a kind of transistor or something I had to replace. But if you've got somebody in the family that can kind of diagnose these things, then it's fairly easy to take the board out, find the faulty part, and then just solder it off and back on again. So, but on the whole, the most kind of maintenance was just changing the rubbers and polishing the playfield every now and then. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, as I said, one of my mates did say that. He says, if you're buying a real arcade game, you need to be prepared to constantly keep it maintained. He says that's part and parcel of keeping them, That's why I wouldn't buy one, because I'm like a cat-candied monkey with a solder iron. I mean, I wouldn't end up setting a house on fire or something like that. What about yourself, Dave? Bargains and
got a couple of bargains off at eBay. One of them was an Aimtrack Top Gun 2 light gun for my main cabinet. The person who had listed it as a light gun for a PlayStation. They thought it was like a G-Con for the PlayStation. So I think it was $4.99 starting price. And I only realised I happened upon it, and I saw the Aimtrack guns come with light bar sensors, kind of like the Wii.
Yeah.
That I noticed the shape of the gun with the light bar sensors, and I thought, that'll do. So I think they're about £8 all in, and they normally go for about £40 plus postage. So that was a bit of a bargain.
So what are these, Dave? Are these arcade guns? Are they?
They're basically used for MAME. They're USB.
Oh, right, okay.
You can also use them. There's a multi-adapter on the bottom that you can use for PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, or original Xbox.
Right, okay.
And they work with LCD screens, which is the most important thing. Yeah. Because it's just like the Wii controller. But they're pretty good. A little bit of a pain to get configured. The newer ones, Aimtrack 3, is easier. But once you get it set up, it's dead easy. It's no bother. The other bargain I got was Shinobi 3 for the Mega Drive. I think Shinobi 3 normally goes for about $45. And someone had listed it. They had shown the picture, and it was a Revenge of Shinobi, which is as common as, it's one of the most common Mega Drive games you can get. So it was in the wrong box, basically, but they had the instructions for Shinobi 3, and the cartridge was Shinobi 3. And I noticed this, and I got that for 99 pence. Got a high quality scan of the cover, printed it out, and I've now got a lovely copy of Shinobi 3 sitting there. So that was the best bargain.
Do you think a lot of like eBay bargains? I mean, I think we've discussed this before. The eBay's really not. It isn't the place to get bargains now. But I think back then, and probably even now, you're relying on the sort of the lack of knowledge. You're relying on somebody's dad or somebody's mum selling off stuff. They've got no idea what they're actually selling, sort of thing. Or
someone's angry ex-girlfriend. Sometimes you find as well.
I think the worst thing that happened to eBay was when it corrects your spelling mistakes.
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
Comador, and you would get all sorts of stuff that
was there not a website that used to be
there was
used to use called fatfingers.something.co.uk, and it was to pick up people's misspellings, mistypings, Nintendo, that kind of thing.
It's mad. But,
I got a Commodore Pat for 50 pence. So what about your extortionate? Oh my God! Why did I buy that type purchase, Dave?
Nothing too. The most expensive thing I ever bought was my Atari 7800, but technically my mum bought me that for my Christmas. I think it was 80 quid, but it came with like 19 games, and it was all fully boxed and everything like that.
Yeah.
But the single purchase that I've made, I think the dearest one was Streets of Rage 3, which was, I got it for 40 quid. And it just seems to keep going up in price for some reason. It's a superb game. I mean, I love the Streets of Rage series on the Mega Drive.
The music you're saying, The music's dire,
Awful. But I didn't realise this until I bought the Genesis collection for the PlayStation 3. The music's only god-awful if you're playing it on a PAL Mega Drive, because there's sync issues because it's only running at 50 Hz. If you play it at 60 Hz, the music's actually not too bad. So I'm off for a couple of days, and I'm going to try and desolder my Mega Drive and stick in a 50, 60 Hz switch, and just to play PlayStation 3, just to play Streets of Rage 3 as it was supposed to be, without my ears bleeding.
It's really easy, Dave. It's really straightforward.
Well, hopefully I'll not kill my Mega Drive. I'll have a look, and we'll give it a go, and I'll let you know next podcast.
I think I've modified probably about 50 Mega Drives now, and I think I've only lost one.
Oh well, that's not bad.
And I think that's probably because I left it powered on while I was soldering it.
That probably doesn't help. At least
why is this board getting warm? You know?
Why is my hair standing up?
What about you, George?
Boris, I've never managed to pick up any decent bargains on eBay. Most of the stuff that I pick up, it's through Gumtree, to be honest with you.
Gumtree as well, I mean.
So I'd say, I managed to get a QL for 30 quid on Edinburgh Gumtree, and it came with double disc drives, with the 512k memory expansion, tons of games on microdrive, and normally that would fetch about 400 quid on the likes of eBay. So I'd say, biggest thing I've probably bought on eBay would be the accelerator card for the Amiga 1200, but I got that as a Christmas present.
Yeah.
Because that's a couple of $100, and I had to put money towards it. But yeah, most of the stuff I've got that I physically own, everything I've got, just about 90% of it came from Gumtree.
Yeah.
Because I like to be able to go and see the stuff and see it working. Yeah.
Yeah, good. I've had a couple of decent bargains. Ironically, both seem to be Vectrex based. About 3-4 years ago, there was a guy flogging a Vectrex with 11 games, box games, and offered him 100 quid, including postage, and he took it. And I think the thing is, Vectrex seems to kind of fluctuate in price. Right now, it seems to be going for stupid money. And as I was saying to Dave, the club night, I got a cracking deal. 12 games plus a Vectrex for £70. The only downside to it is I've got to go and pick it up. But I was telling Dave and Ian as well, they've been back in touch saying that it's now it's switching off after 5 minutes. If I still want, I can take it. I don't know whether or not they've realised that they could sell it for a hell of a lot more money. They're trying to kind of back out of it. I don't know. So I'm in kind of two minds now whether to go for it or not. I don't know.
Done much research to see what the problem actually is.
I haven't. No.
It's
all I do know is to say that if you do go to repair it, make sure you. I think I said that I was talking to you about it, Ian. Drain down the screen because you can still get an awful electric shock. So I'm a bit disappointed with that, But
I would still go for it, Alan. I mean, I think one of us would maybe help you fix it.
Aye, and I mean, I could, with what I'm buying is worth the money anyway, sort of thing. Like
the games alone are worth it.
No, I know that. I was wanting. I mean, the main thing was having a backup Vectrex, but I don't know. I'll need a wee think about it. But
handy for spares as well, maybe. Yeah.
Aye.
You have a crack at fixing it, and if you can't fix it, you can maybe just go on eBay and double your money.
Superb. So there was that one, but the biggest, the one that I recently, which was, I think I've mentioned it before, which I was over the moon about for a long, long time. I mean, the first kind of main computer I saw was Atari 800, a big, massive, built like a tank thing. I used to go up to the computer shop and play that all the time, and that's because that was the first computer I ever got to see. I always wanted one, and I realised pretty quick that they're pretty rare, and apparently the PAL ones are actually quite rare. Obviously the US ones, I mean, the Atari were far more common in the States, but quite rare in Europe. And I realised with the price, I thought, never ever going to get it. We're never going to get it. And then I happened to see it wasn't on Gumtree, it wasn't on eBay, it was on Gumtree. And I saw a guy who was selling. I can't remember how much it was. It was Atari 800. Disk drive, loads of games. It was only £80. Now an Atari 800 on its own goes for about £200, and I thought, oh, instantly sent him a text message, and he says, yeah, that's fine. So I had to arrange to kind of get it delivered. As it turns out, it was an Atari 800 plus a free Atari 400, which I think I mentioned as well, came smashed to pieces, but it still works. A disk drive, shitloads of software. In fact, I managed to sell about 5 or 6 games about 6 months ago, and I got about £100 back. So I actually made. In fact, there's another bit to the story. So I think I paid like £80. And it was like £12 postage or something. I got my mate to pick it up and he delivered it to me. So I actually made more money selling 4 of the disc games. So I got my money back. But because the Atari 400 was smashed to pieces, we contacted whoever it was, Collect Plus, I can't remember, Royal Mail, whoever it was, and you said, well, you need to replace it like for like. And I said, how much are they? And I went online, and there was one, and there wasn't any for sale in the UK. I said, there's one in the States. It's like $200. And they're like, no, and I said, well, how can you possibly put an accurate? It's like, how much is an Atari 400 worth? Well, you go on eBay, that's the going rate kind of thing. If there's none for sale, then how do you come out with a price? Anyway, I said, look, call it £100 more quits. So I got £100 refund. So I ended up getting like £30 in my back pocket. Plus I got 2 computers, all these games and that. So that was an absolutely cracking one. Most expensive purchase was probably, thanks to you, Ian, was the Pandora. Pandora handheld. I think, what was that, £150 or something it cost me. But you know what? It's worth every penny.
Do you see one of the things you feel if you buy something expensive on eBay is I get the regret. It's like, shit, what have I done?
Remorse. You do.
And so I better justify this by using it all the time.
No. I mean, I think we've all done it. You buy something. I mean, I'm one of these really stupid buggers. I maybe see something. I go along. I mean, that our PC club alone has cost me a lot of money. I mean, just to see, George has got this and Ian's got that and Dave's got this, and I don't get it. Once you see it, and it gets under my skin. I think I'll just have a look on eBay, and then I'll check Gumtree, and it becomes like a got to get it, and then eventually you get it. And then it gets put in the cupboard and then you forget about it. What can I get now, sort of thing, but
yeah, what's next?
But I know, where do you stop? But yeah, that was my most expensive purchase. But I don't regret buying anything if I use it. It's like people say that's a waste of money. Well, anything's a waste of money if you're not going to use it.
Right.
So
what about your MAME cabinet, Alan? Did that come off?
MAME? What did that cost me? That was £500. I think it was £550. It cost me. It was a guy. I think probably George and Dave know him. Chris Wilkins. He does whatever it is. I can't remember what it is. He does. He used to do a lot of the kind of retro events. I knew him. Sorry, Dave.
He does the revival events.
It's a revival. Yeah. Right. So I knew him through one of the sort of forums, and I knew he was kind of building MAME cabs. And when I was down at it was called Retrovision. I was doing a Retrovision gaming event about 10 years ago, and there was a prize actually. It was a MAME cab, and I obviously being Scottish and living in central Scotland, we never ever got to play arcade games. So when I saw this MAME game, this MAME cab, as far as I was concerned, this was a real arcade game. And I just totally fell in love with it, and I thought, I'd love to get one. And lo and behold, my 40th birthday came up, and my wife said, what you want? And I said, I wouldn't mind a MAME cab, And I mean, it still sits there, it still gets used. It doesn't get used that much, but, for the real, although it's not a real arcade game, I mean, because the monitor's up, it's a vertical kind of thing, it's got really good controls, it's still the best way, and Dave will verify that, it's the best way to play a MAME game sort of thing. It's as near as damn it to the real arcade experience.
Absolutely.
In fact, that was one of my points actually, MAME cabs. So so I said I've still got that. I mean, it's what it must be. What am I now? 46. So yeah, it's about 6.5 years old. And in fact, it was the most bizarre thing. About 2 years ago. Now I don't have Chris Wilkins' phone number or anything at all, and he he actually phoned me. I was at work and he actually phoned me. I was like, hello. He says, I said, who is this? He goes, it's Chris. I said, Chris who? He says, Chris Wilkins. I says, oh, I said, I bought your name cab. He said, yeah, did you phone me? I went, no. I mean, I didn't have his phone number for like the last 5 years. But he just out the blue phoned me and like, anyway. But, and of course I told him, we got talking and I says, oh, I love the meme cab. And he says, oh, take you've not got it anymore. I says, oh, so I still use it all the time. So I sent him pictures of it and he was over the moon to see that it was still getting used. Like, I mean, it's had, I think it's on its third or fourth PC. And I mean, as a proving, I brought it along to the club one night. It's not built for moving. The minute you move it, it doesn't work. I keep expecting to 40 bits one day, like, you know, but I love my main cab. I mean, there's been plenty of times, I think you offered to buy it off me at one point, George, there's been plenty of times I think,
yeah,
you know, I could get rid of it, but I know that the second I got rid of it, I'd think that was my one and only chance of ever having a real arcade game, although it's not, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So for that reason, I would rather just hang on to it. Especially when you can stick in, I mean, that wee retro PC thing that I bring along to the club most weeks, I could put that in it and, you know, it works a treat sort of thing. So what about your name cab then, Dave? Did you build yours from scratch?
I built it myself, yep. Blood, sweat and tears. I had wanted a main cabinet for ages and never really had the space, but I kind of had a bit of a clear out and made some space for it. Mine's is a vertical stand-up old style arcade machine. It started off, it was going to be a Galaxian type machine, but I wanted a more, the Galaxian machines have got a kind of flat monitor on them, you look down on them, and I wanted
right.
It's got a two-way joystick as well, haven't
they? Galaxian's got Galaxian's a two-way joystick, but I built mine. It's based on a Tato style cabinet, so it is a stand-up, you know, vertical arcade machine, the marquees up the top and all that kind of stuff. But I've designed mine with swappable control panels in it. So my main control panel's got an 8-way joystick, 6 buttons, a trackball, and a second joystick. But the second joystick's for things like Karate Champ and Robotron and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
I've also just built a 2-player control panel, and I've got my light gun hanging off it as well. So it plays 90% of what I want it to. I want to put in a driving panel and eventually if I get an iCarry Warriors type, you know, the rotary joysticks.
Yeah.
Fancy putting them in. But
you got a spinner for like Tempest?
I don't know. I just use the trackball for playing them.
Right, I suppose. Oh, you've got a trackball as well. Oh, well, so you get some decent missile command action then, eh?
Missile Command and Rampart are two of my favourites, so they get used quite a lot. But I mean, it took me about a week in total to build it, and that was actually cutting it, building it up, tweaking it, you know, because all these things, if you start building it, you think, oh, what about if I just do this and put this here, and you know, so it's an organic design.
Yeah.
Did anything go wrong with the build, Dave, when you were building it?
No, I was quite lucky. There was a couple of wee dents got taken out of it, but I made my own wood filler out of PVA glue and sawdust, and it seemed that goes hard as nails when you. No, it was actually, it worked out all right. It was so I mean it's solid. It's heavy enough that it's not going to fall over if somebody hits it. But it was light enough for me and my stepson to carry up the stairs. So the longest thing was painting it. It took ages to paint it because you're having to do multiple coats and all that kind of stuff. But no, I mean it's a great thing to have, and you know, when the guys come round for gaming nights and stuff, it gets well used. Everybody loves it because I've got a coin mech on it, so you have to put 10 pence in it to get it.
I like the idea of that actually. Yeah.
It's brilliant. You know, it beats hitting a button to put a credit in. I wanted the full experience. If I was going to build an arcade cabinet, you know, short of having chewing gum stained carpets, it was as close as I was going to get. So, you know, I had to have a coin mech on there and all that kind of stuff. So it's great. I love it, and it's you know, it's a good feeling that you built it yourself. And
I bet you.
I'm no any kind of carpenter. You know, I can cut a pretty straight line and that's it. But if you take your time with it, it's just.
What was the hardest part of building it then, do you think? Would you say?
The hardest part, physically, it wasn't actually too bad. The hardest part was designing it, to be honest. That's what took longest. Because there's a few websites. There's a guy called Jacobud, Jako Bud, And his website has got
plans. Is that John Budd, by any chance? No.
No.
No, it's not. It's nothing to do with that. Just the name, like, yeah.
Different guy in America.
Yeah.
He's got plans for pretty much all the major style arcade cabinets. So you get the kind of rough sizes, but as ever, I kind of tweaked it and fannied about with it and wanted a certain style on the control panel, all that kind of stuff. So, but once you get your design done, you've got all your sizes worked out and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty much just cut out the bits and put it together. The hardest bit was actually wiring the control panel.
The iPack, or was it an iPack you used?
No, there's a wee device. It was a Kickstarter project called KADE, K-A-D-E. And it's a wee USB multi-programmable device. And this thing's fantastic. They're 20 quid. And you wire up your arcade control state and you can program it for PC or PlayStation 2, Xbox, whatever you want. And it'll just interface with it. But I've got about 3 of them, all wired with different configurations and stuff. But it's just time consuming, looming all the buttons together, and then actually wiring it into the thing and making it go. And then you have to set up MAME to run through all the controls that you've set up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Dave, have you got your side panels on your arcade cabinet laminated? Have you got stickers on it?
I've got 2 bits of Commando side art. Years ago I bought a Commando marquee, a real marquee for the old arcade cabinet. And I was fortunate enough that I actually built my cabinet to size so it slots right in. So I got 2 of the Commando side arts. I actually just printed them on a laser printer and got my wife to laminate it. And it's great because my cabinet's black. The whole thing's black. I didn't put any purpose side art on it because it costs a fortune to print that stuff out, and it's a sticker. So once it's on, if you didn't like it, you're knackered.
Have you heard of Ben Heck?
Oh yes, aye.
So basically, when he obviously puts his side art on, you can get the special sticker stuff. It's made by 3M, and this stuff has got tiny little holes in it. So when you go to spread it onto the side of the arcade cabinet, it doesn't bubble.
Right. Nice.
So basically, when you go to spread out with like a damp cloth, there's microfiber bubbles in it, and it's really easy to spread out on the side of the arcade cabinet. It doesn't have any bubbles in it. But I don't know how expensive it is, but I think you can order it up.
Well, I've got tiny wee bits of blue tack hiding mine on, and you can't. It's flush to the cabinet, it looks like it's a sticker that's on there, so looks pretty good. I quite like it.
Very good. I think if I wanted the full-size cab, but there was just no way I was going to get one. But you're talking about the side art. I think if I was to ever get one, I think the side art for mine would have to be the original Space Invaders, the big rock monsters with like the missile in its hand. That just takes me right back to Craigsall Sports Centre 1978.
There's an arcade cabinet for sale on Gumtree just now, and it's somebody's drawn the side art on it, Dave, with chalk.
Oh, jeez.
And it's got look if it's got a 12-inch monitor on it.
Nice. Is this one of these dodgy MAME cabinets?
Aye, and it's somebody's where the 2-player control unit in it. On it, there's 2 buttons on the front, right? And somebody's got a bit of chalk and written, "Do not press these together." So either that resets it or blows it up. I don't know, but I'm going to put the picture up on Facebook if I can find it again on Gumtree. But it's hilarious. Chalk side art.
Have you looked at that website, the world's worst MAME cabs? Have you ever?
There's whole sites dedicated to them. My favourite ones are the ones that have got the kind of 10-foot control panels in the front. They've got 25 buttons. They've got the spinner, the trackball, a couple of steering wheels.
Hideous.
I think there was one of them, like just the one you were talking about, and somebody made the comment saying that if you were like player 4 at Super Sprint, you'd actually be looking at the screen side on. You couldn't see it because you're so far around, like at 90 degrees to the bloody screen light. But then there was one we were talking about the other day. Somebody had put one into in fact, it was an actual proper MAME. Well, it was a proper kind of stand-up cab. But what the person had done is they had the control panel had like a light gun on one bit. And then you spun it round, and there was a steering wheel. You spun it round, and for Star Wars. You spun it round. There was 2 joysticks.
Mad.
Absolutely superb. So excellent. Have you any plans for a MAME cab, Ian? Do you think you'll ever?
Probably not. No, well, just due
Yeah.
to lack of space at the moment. But no, you never know.
Yeah. What
Maybe,
about yourself?
maybe one day.
George, what about yourself? Do you think you'll ever?
Yeah, I'm actually tempted to go and buy a bar top shell when I go down to this.
Oh yeah.
If I go down to the event in Blackpool, I'd like to buy the bar top shell, and I'll buy. I've got an i3 motherboard and processor sitting there to put in it, and I've got a 19-inch LCD screen to put in it as well. But I just need to get the actual frame. So I'm tempted to get one when I'm down
That's
there.
the thing,
Dave
I
could
mean,
build you one. No.
I'll make you one.
Yeah.
Right. That would be great. I think.
Because a bar top kit will cost you about 125 quid.
Aye.
And the wood for it would cost you about 20 quid.
Right.
So, I mean, my whole machine from start to finish, excluding the PC, for all the wood, all the screws, everything, wood filler, paint, the whole shooting match was 250 quid.
That's a bargain.
Fantastic.
And it took me a week to build it, but I mean, absolutely everything. I started with nothing apart from a PC.
Yeah.
And that was buying a light and all that stuff.
I've been looking to get a bar top for about the last year. I'd probably store it in the shed in the garage, I think. But I think it'd be easier to take. I'd like to take it along to the retro nights. It wouldn't be too bad to carry along. But no, I would either get one down there or speak nicely to Dave and then give him the money to start building it for me would be good.
Aye, it's just a case of thinking about what size you want it to be, one player, two player, all that kind of stuff. But we shall have a little chat offline, as they say.
That'd be good.
Sounds good. Funny, when I bought that MAME cab, I mean, a few folks said to me, 550 quid. He says, fucking hell, the wood probably costs like 10 quid and the PC was blah, blah, blah. And yeah, when I bought it and I added up probably all the parts, it probably cost like maybe £100 all in. But, you know, as you say, Dave, it's you're not paying, if you buy one off somebody, you're not paying for the materials, you're paying for his expertise, you're paying for his, I mean, if you were charging like for the labour, you said it took you a week, you know what I mean, you're paying for the labour and that kind of stuff, like, you know what I mean?
Mine was a labour of love. I mean, I was working kind of 10, 12 hour shifts to get it done, you know, so it was a labour of love. Because I thought about trying to build them, you know, as a kind of side hobby and sell them, because there's nobody up in Scotland does it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's very labour intensive.
So, choice-wise, would it be JAMA? This is out to everybody. Would you rather have a JAMA, pros and cons of having JAMA, or pros and cons of having MAME PC-based arcade machine? What do you think's would the one? Yours is a MAME one, Dave?
Mine's is just a PC running it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine's is the same. And to be honest with you, I would personally, I mean, I would love to have the real things, but personally, I like the flexibility of PC. At the end of the day, if the PC bucks up, you can just buy a bloody brand new one and your quid's in again, sort of thing. But I do respect people like Ian who've got the real thing, but I've not got the patience for that.
So Dave, has your cabinet got is it an LCD screen as well? Is it?
It's an LCD that's in it, yeah. Just purely for size. You know, CRTs were too deep.
I think if you could get a MAME cabinet that had a PC in it, but also had an arcade monitor in it, I think that would be a good compromise, because you're going to get the picture quality of the CRT without the kind of upscaling that you get on an LCD screen. You know, I think I would maybe go with that. I
think Matt, who sometimes comes along to our retro nights, he's actually got a MAME cabinet, same as what Dave's got, but it cost him quite a lot of money, but he's got a special LCD type monitor that's arcade quality, and it says it took him a while to get the exact one that he wanted, but it does look. I mean, I've been over to visit him over at South Queensferry, and it is you wouldn't know it was an LCD monitor. It looks like a CRT quality.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know, the contrast ratio and everything's really sharp on it, really clear. Honestly, I thought it was a proper CRT monitor, didn't it? I mean, so they're out there, but they're expensive.
Yeah, it's just I mean, there's a huge difference. If I play MAME on my PC here and fire up a Neo Geo game, and it looks awful compared to what it looks like on the actual CRT monitor running behind me, it just looks so much nicer.
It depends what you're playing. The Neo Geo stuff that's crisper, you know, looks great on CRTs. a lot of the older classic stuff looks all right on LCDs. I've got my it's pretty decent LCD, but there's all sorts of wee bits. You can put the scan lines filter and all that kind of stuff on it. That gives it a wee bit more authenticity.
Yeah.
And I went out to one of the guys' houses that had actual arcade cabinets, and instantly I was like, I want an arcade cabinet. I want to buy a real game cabinet. But I went home having played a few of the games, and I played them on my arcade cabinet, and there wasn't a lot of difference, for the classic stuff.
Yeah.
If you were being purist, a CRT is obviously the way to go. But if you're doing that with PC, you need especially an arcade monitor, you need a special graphics card that can put out there. I think they run at 15 kilohertz or something like that.
They do exist, though, don't they?
They do exist, but it's about £130 for the card to output a PC to an arcade monitor.
Yeah, I think me and Ian have had a shot at the JAMA stuff, and it seems like a compromise between full arcade, the proper equipment, or going the other way and having the PC. Kind of JAMA seems to be in the middle. My understanding is with JAMA it's quite a massive fall-in for JAMA stuff, and basically you buy a cabinet that's got the monitor and the controls in it, and you can plug in your JAMA into this. It can be a single JAMA game, or one of these
multi-boards.
70 multi-boards which got 75 games in it. The one that I've experienced is that it does look quite good, and it's quite compact and small, and you can play multiple games on it. The only issue I saw was that some of the games that we're playing were slowing down.
Yeah, I think the one that I had a shot of it looked good until you actually played it, and it just knew it wasn't right. You could just tell
it wasn't right.
Yeah, there was always something on every game that I played. There was something that told me this is not how it's meant to be, and it was the sound was like maybe distorted. Maybe the controls had a bit of delay when you push the buttons,
or the frame rate wasn't right.
Down. Yeah, it wasn't ideal. And I think all of these multiple game boards all have the same. They all have similar kind of issues.
Right,
that's a shame. Yeah, that's probably the one. That's probably the one where I would go for a real thing. It's like a 17 one with my 70 favourite kind of games, but I probably wouldn't if I wasn't going to get full speed out of it.
Yeah, you get some new boards are like 2,000 or 4,000 games in one with a JAMA interface on it. But again, I mean, some of them may be fine, but then some of them may have problems. It's just hard to tell. They'll come from China and stuff,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that, Dave, with the kind of JAMA stuff? Is it pretty reliable? Good emulation on the games? Because
Dave's running a MAME cab, is he not?
Aye, but has he ever had a shot at the JAMA stuff?
Oh, right, sorry.
I've seen the JAMA stuff. Both multi-boards and dedicated boards. The multi-boards, like you're saying, because there's so much variation, trying to squeeze through one interface board, you do get issues with it. Obviously, if you're playing the dedicated stuff, it's great. And I think 99% of stuff is JAMA compatible, or you can get a JAMA harness for them.
Yeah, make an adapter.
You can get daughter boards because some of them had voltage differences and stuff, so you have to tweak some boards. But the one thing to say about kind of MAME versus JAMA is that unless you're an absolute purist, it's storage. You've got PCBs that are 12, 18 inches square.
Yeah.
And if you've got 10 games, you need a wardrobe to keep them in. A nice box and stuff. So, MAME's purely for convenience, and if something runs slow, you can up the frame rate on it. There's all sorts of tweaks you can do. I would love to have a row of arcade cabinets, and if I ever win the lottery, I'm going to build an arcade. But also going to have to employ someone to look after all this stuff for me as well, because I can't fix it.
You see, when you've got, you win the lottery, Dave, you've got these arcade machines all laid out in your big, massive mansion. Will you have one of these arcade machines with the dance mats on it?
Certainly not. Good God, no.
You see folk get, in Edinburgh playing them, they just look daft.
It's just,
dance mat arcade games.
I look a big enough arse when I'm walking.
Lots of guys. On that note, I think we've gone on slightly over the hour, so I think we'll probably round this one up. So just before we go, obviously the next club night is Wednesday the 14th of May. It'd be nice to see everybody along as usual, and obviously ring both doorbells and somebody will come. It's the usual time, 7:30. Until 10:30. Wednesday the 14th of May. So again, thanks you lot for coming along and putting together this podcast. It's been good fun, and thanks for everybody for tuning in and listening. Please give us any comments, and if you want us to discuss any topics, then please pop them on our Facebook page, and we shall endeavour to do that for 2 weeks' time.
So, before we go,
Yep.
Is there any YouTube channels that you'd like to recommend?
Me personally, what have I been watching? I've been watching, I think it was Lawn Boys Post, what's he called, the Lawn Boy 24 or something?
Aye.
Yeah, I started watching a few of his, and he's got a really nice kind of tone, quite a sort of chilled out guy. Like he's really, really good. That's the only other one I've really been watching.
Cool. I would like to recommend channels that you watch. First one is the guy's called Rocky the Fishman. I think he's a Scottish guy, Edinburgh based, I think. He's a big retro collector. Also, Retro Gamer VX. He's quite a geeky retro chap. He's got loads of retro equipment and repairs them as well. And probably, I'm going to recommend... Who am I going to recommend? The Ben Heck Show is another one.
Ben Heck, yeah.
Oh, and another last final one is YouTube channel. It's called ZX Projects. And this guy just mucks about with Spectrum stuff. It's quite interesting to watch. So I'd watch him as well if you get a chance.
Post all these up on Facebook, yeah?
Yeah, I will do, yeah.
I put the links up. Yeah, Ian, you any
Cool.
new ones you want to add to the mix?
No, just one that was mentioned last time was Retro Game Tech. I've been catching up on some of his videos. He doesn't post a lot of stuff, but he's another Scottish guy. He does a lot of the kind of repairs, buys broken stuff off eBay and fixes it. There's not been a lot of videos recently, but he's got quite a lot of old videos you can have a look at. It's Retro Game Tech, I think, on YouTube.
And he just bought a Vectrex for £20.
Bargain.
£25.
Yeah.
Get it up on me.
Vectrex, yeah.
Never did like the guy anyway. What about yourself, Dave? You any new ones from?
Not been
From 2
watching
weeks
it.
ago.
Really, I mean, it's Finn Gamer's my staple one. The only other one, and it's not technically retro related, so forgive me, but he's very good. Check out Mystery Guitar Man. He does all sorts of crazy music videos and makes music using all sorts of weird stuff. But he's fantastic. He's absolutely brilliant. So
Pop the URL on our Facebook page, Dave.
aye, will do.
Excellent. Obviously, the other one's a Scottish guy, Mainmeister, absolutely shit hot. good looking guy.
I suppose I could put a shout out for mine if you check out Saturday 2000.
You know what's really bizarre? I don't know if you've seen any of mine, Dave. I basically play games for 10 minutes and just play them, and that's it. And I mean, I've got 115 subscribers. I usually get about 20, 30 views over a couple of weeks. I've got a big collection of LCD games, and I dug them out the loft the other day there, and I made a couple of videos of two of them, and they've both got probably double views of any of the other stuff. Like, it's mental how just one particular thing can just catch people's attention, eh?
Superb.
The only problem is I've only got about 20 the machines, so once I've done all them, the views will just plummet again.
I can buy more.
Aye, excellent. So, listen, guys, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for taking part, and we'll meet up again soon, eh?
Cool.
All right.
See you all later.
Cheers.
Thanks, then. Bye.
Bye.